The massive Zarkath observation vessel hung motionless against the backdrop of stars, its quantum-cloaked hull rendering it invisible to Earth's primitive detection systems, or so they thought. High Observer Vextal stood before the ship's primary visualization array, his crystalline appendages trembling slightly as he processed the incoming data. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Impossible, he whispered, his neural translator converting the thought into standard galactic common. They've locked onto our position. The human military installation below had suddenly gone silent. Its usual radio chatter ceased. Then, without warning, 3 sleek aircraft had launched from a hidden underground hangar, climbing rapidly toward the Zarkath's position with impossible precision. High Observer, his second-in-command, Karn, called out. They shouldn't have the capability to detect us. Our quantum cloak is being tracked, Vextal finished. Somehow they've adapted their primitive radar systems to detect the quantum distortions our cloak creates. In mere hours, the human fighters approached in a perfect triangle formation. No wasted movement, no hesitation. This was not the behavior of a species encountering advanced technology for the first time. This was the response of warriors who had prepared for this exact scenario. Launch diplomatic probes, Vextal ordered. Standard first contact protocol. The Zarkath released a dozen gleaming spheres, each programmed to broadcast peace signals on all known frequencies. The human aircraft didn't even pause. The lead fighter launched a missile that intercepted the nearest probe, detonating it in a precise burst that scattered its quantum-charged debris across the paths of the other probes. The debris cloud disrupted their guidance systems, sending them spiraling off course. They used our own probe's quantum signature against the others, Karn observed, awe and fear mixing in her harmonic voice. That's not possible. They couldn't have analyzed and weaponized the technology that quickly. But they had. The human fighters began executing a series of complex maneuvers, each pass gathering more data about the Zarkath's capabilities. They weren't attacking blindly. They were learning, adapting, probing for weaknesses. Full power to defensive shields, Vextal commanded. Prepare for emergency. The human struck before he could finish. Not at the Zarkath itself, but at a precise point in space 50 meters above the vessel. Their weapons detonated in a carefully calculated pattern, creating a cascading wave of electromagnetic energy that interfered with the ship's quantum field harmonics. Warning signals blared as the cloak began to fail. The humans had somehow identified the exact frequency required to disrupt their most advanced defensive technology. It should have taken years of study to gain that knowledge. They had done it in minutes. Emergency withdrawal, Vextal ordered. Get us out of their weapons range. As the Zarkath retreated to the safety of high orbit, Vextal watched the human fighters return to their base with perfect precision. No celebration, no wasted energy. Simply warriors completing their mission. Later, in his private chamber, Vextal composed his report to the Galactic Council. His crystalline appendages trembled as he chose his words carefully. First contact assessment. Species: human, Terra. Classification: extreme CAU. This species represents an unprecedented threat level that defies our traditional classification systems. They have demonstrated the ability to detect and analyze advanced technology with impossible speed, adapt primitive systems to counter quantum-level defenses, transform defensive technologies into offensive weapons immediately, execute complex military operations with minimal preparation. Most concerning is not their technological capabilities, but their instinctive approach to warfare. They do not fight like a species that has learned combat through necessity. They fight like a species that has evolved alongside warfare itself, that has integrated combat into every aspect of their development. Recommendation: no further contact without full military escort. All peaceful overtures must be approached with extreme caution. This species does not just practice warfare. They have transformed it into an art form that exceeds anything in our historical records. Final note: We have never encountered a species that treats first contact as a military exercise to be won. The humans did not attempt communication. They did not show fear or awe at our superior technology. They simply identified a potential threat and neutralized our advantages with terrifying efficiency. The galaxy is not ready for humanity, and I fear that by the time we are ready, it will be too late. As Vextel transmitted his report, the quantum communications array picked up new signals from Earth. The humans were already adapting their defense systems based on what they had learned. They weren't celebrating their victory. They were preparing for the next encounter. The age of peaceful exploration was over. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had announced their presence, not with words of peace, but with a demonstration of warfare so advanced it bordered on art. Senior researcher Ixel hunched over her workstation in the Galactic Council's Advanced Threat Analysis facility, her compound eyes reflecting the holographic displays surrounding her. 3 months had passed since the Zarkath incident, and what she had discovered about humanity chilled her to her core. "Display Timeline Alpha," she commanded. The air before her filled with a chronological display of human technological development. But unlike other species' neat, orderly progressions, humanity's timeline was chaos incarnate. "Computer, highlight weapons development correlations," she ordered. The display transformed, showing countless interconnected lines between civilian technologies and military applications. The pattern was unlike anything she'd ever seen. A soft chime announced the arrival of her research partner, Zextor. The towering insectoid carried a data crystal containing their latest findings from Earth's information networks. "You need to see this," he clicked, mandibles twitching with agitation. "The humans have already reversed engineered components from the damaged probe." Ixel's outer membrane paled. Impossible. The quantum matrices should have self-destructed. They anticipated that. They developed a containment field using. Zextor's translator struggled for a moment, using modified microwave technology. "They cook food with it, Ixel. They turned a food preparation device into a quantum containment system." Ixel called up the relevant data. The humans had indeed taken a primitive heating device and, through a series of brilliant modifications, transformed it into something that could stabilize quantum matrices. It shouldn't have been possible. But that wasn't what truly terrified her. "Look at the timestamp," she whispered. "They did this in 17 days. The implications were staggering. Most species took generations to understand quantum technology. Humans had done it in less time than it took their planet to orbit their sun once." "There's more," Zextor continued. "They're not just studying the technology. They're improving it." The display shifted to show human modifications to the probe systems. They hadn't just understood the quantum principles. They had found ways to make them more efficient, more dangerous. "They've miniaturized the power core," Ixel noted, her professional fascination warring with growing dread. "They've made it more stable, more powerful, and—" she paused, checking the data again. "They've made it compatible with their existing power grid." "That's not the worst part," Zextor clicked. "Show her the weapons development, computer." New images appeared, showing human military facilities. They had already developed prototypes of weapons incorporating the quantum technology. But they hadn't simply copied the probe's defensive systems. They had transformed them into entirely new forms of weaponry. "They turned our quantum detection grid into something they call a phase cannon," Zextor explained. "It uses the same principles we use to scan for spatial anomalies, but they've modified it to create focused beams of quantum destabilized particles." Ixel's appendages trembled as she processed this. They turned a scientific instrument into a weapon that could tear apart the fabric of space-time. "In less than a month," Zextor confirmed. "And they're already working on countermeasures against their own invention. They developed defenses against weapons they've just created, anticipating how others might use them." Ixel began composing her report to the Council, her usual scientific detachment shaken by what she had discovered. The words flowed across the screen. Humanity demonstrates an unprecedented ability to adapt and weaponize technology. Their approach defies all known patterns of technological development. Key observations. They do not follow linear technological progression. They make intuitive leaps that bypass entire stages of development. Every technological advancement, regardless of its original purpose, is immediately examined for military applications. They develop defensive countermeasures simultaneously with offensive capabilities, creating an endless cycle of innovation. Their ability to improvise and repurpose technology exceeds anything in our records. They don't just adapt technology, they transform it at a fundamental level. Most concerning is their speed of development. They don't wait to fully understand a technology before improving it. They operate on intuition and practical application, achieving results that our most advanced AI systems cannot predict. Recommendation: immediate classification of humanity as a Class 1 convergent species. Their ability to absorb and weaponize technology poses an existential threat to galactic stability. Traditional containment protocols will be ineffective. They would likely turn our containment technology against us. Personal note: in my 3 centuries of studying emerging species, I have never encountered one that treats technology as humans do. They don't see limitations, they see possibilities. They don't learn technology, they reinvent it. And most frighteningly, they do it all with an enthusiasm that suggests they enjoy the challenge. We are not dealing with a primitive species discovering advanced technology. We are dealing with a species that has made technological adaptation into an art form, and they practice this art with terrifying efficiency. As Ixel finished her report, new data streamed in. The humans had just tested their first quantum-enhanced weapon. It had performed better than their simulations predicted. They weren't celebrating this success. They were already working on the next iteration. The galaxy's technological superiority, maintained for millennia, had just met its greatest challenge. Humanity didn't just adopt technology. They revolutionized it. And they did it with a speed that made the Council's most advanced development programs look glacial in comparison. The age of technological supremacy was over. The era of human innovation had begun. Behavioral analyst Kivex adjusted his holographic disguise as he walked through the human military training facility. After 6 months of deep cover observation, he still found himself startled by what he witnessed. Today was no different. In the combat simulation chamber before him, human soldiers faced off against combat drones programmed with Council military tactics. The exercise had been designed to be impossible to win. A standard test used across the galaxy to teach troops the importance of accepting tactical retreats. The humans were winning. Fascinating adaptation, sir, his assistant Muriel whispered through their secure channel. They've reconfigured their standard weapons to emit electromagnetic pulses that disrupt the drone's targeting systems. That's not in their briefing materials, Kivex noted. They developed this countermeasure during the exercise. In the first 15 minutes, Muriel confirmed. They lost 2 squadrons, analyzed the drone behavior patterns, and improvised a solution using their existing equipment. Kivex watched as the human soldiers executed a series of coordinated maneuvers that should have been impossible without advanced neural links. Yet they achieved perfect synchronization through nothing more than hand signals and what they called tactical intuition. Later, in his hidden observation post, Kivex compiled his findings for the Council's Xenopsychology Division. Human Combat Psychology Analysis. Phase 3 Report. The more I study human military training, the more I realize we are not observing a standard military force. We are witnessing the evolution of warfare itself. Key observations. Humans don't train to follow tactical protocols. They train to break them. Every exercise I've observed involves soldiers actively trying to find weaknesses in their own strategies. They simulate failure scenarios not to teach acceptance of defeat, but to develop what they call creative solutions. They treat tactical failures as learning opportunities rather than setbacks. Their command structure defies conventional military logic. While they maintain a clear chain of command, They actively encourage individual initiative and tactical improvisation at all levels. Most disturbingly, they approach combat with what can only be described as enthusiasm. They don't just accept combat, they embrace it as a challenge to be overcome. HFY paused his recording as new data came in from other observation posts. A training exercise in something humans called urban warfare had yielded particularly concerning results. The human capacity for tactical adaptation exceeds anything in our predictive models, he continued. Today I observed a training squad turn a defeat scenario into victory by using their environment in ways our simulators hadn't considered possible. They transformed civilian infrastructure into defensive positions, communication equipment into weapons, and maintenance tools into battlefield assets. More concerning is their approach to technological limitations. When faced with superior enemy technology, humans don't attempt to match it. They find ways to render it irrelevant. They develop tactics that transform their technological disadvantages into strategic advantages. Their training methodology is equally alien to our understanding. They deliberately place their soldiers in no-win scenarios, not to teach them to accept defeat, but to force them to develop innovative solutions. They call this thinking outside the box, a concept that has no direct translation in any council language. Most alarming is their psychological response to battlefield challenges. When presented with an impossible tactical situation, humans display increased focus and what they term aggressive problem-solving. Where other species retreat, humans become more determined. Where others see defeat, humans see a puzzle to be solved. They have elevated tactical thinking beyond mere military strategy. Every human soldier is trained not just to follow orders, but to understand the underlying principles of warfare itself. They don't memorize tactics. They internalize the fundamentals of combat to a degree that allows them to innovate in real time. Recommendation: previous classification of humans as a warrior species is inadequate. They are something we have no category for, a species that has made warfare into both a science and an art form. Their military psychology cannot be understood through conventional xenopsychological models because they have evolved beyond conventional warfare. Critical note: the most dangerous aspect of human combat psychology is not their aggression or determination, but their ability to learn from every encounter. Each engagement, even in training, makes them more adaptable, more innovative, and more dangerous. We are not observing the military development of a young species. We are witnessing the emergence of a civilization that has transformed warfare into an evolutionary advantage. They don't just practice warfare, they perfect it. And they do so with a level of dedication that suggests they view combat itself as a form of self-improvement. Final assessment: traditional containment strategies will fail. Humans don't just learn from defeat, they thrive on it. Each failed attempt to contain them will only make them stronger, more adaptable, and more determined. The galaxy is not prepared for this. We have never encountered a species that treats warfare as a path to enlightenment rather than a means to an end. As HFY completed his report, he received word that the training squad had begun another exercise. This time, they were deliberately handicapping themselves, removing technological advantages to force even more creative solutions. They weren't just preparing for war. They were preparing for every conceivable form of warfare, and they were doing it with an enthusiasm that made the most hardened council military observers uncomfortable. The galaxy had never seen anything like this, and HFY feared it never would again. Humanity was rewriting the very nature of warfare itself. Fleet Commander Xerax stood on the bridge of the Council's flagship, Eternal Vigilance, watching as the containment fleet moved into position around Earth. After months of debate, the Council had decided to implement a standard isolation protocol, cutting off human expansion before it could threaten galactic stability. All ships report ready, her second-in-command reported. Quantum barrier generators charging. Containment field will be active in 30 standard minutes. Xerax felt her scales ripple with unease. Something about this felt wrong. The humans had detected their previous incursions with impossible speed. Why hadn't they reacted to a fleet of this size? Status of Earth's defensive systems, she asked. Minimal activity detected. Their orbital platforms appear to be in standard configuration. No sign they've even noticed us. That couldn't be right. The humans had demonstrated remarkable observation capabilities before. Had the fleet's stealth systems actually worked? Or, full scan of local space, Zyrex ordered suddenly. All frequencies, all dimensions. Commander, her second questioned. The humans don't have multi-dimensional scanning capability. Scan anyway. The results came back negative. No signs of human ships, no unusual energy signatures, nothing to suggest they were walking into a trap. Yet Zyrax's combat instincts, honed over 3 centuries of service, screamed that something was wrong. Begin containment field deployment, she ordered. Maintain maximum alert status. The massive quantum barrier generators began powering up, drawing energy from the fleet's combined power grid. The containment field would create an impenetrable barrier around Earth's solar system, preventing any human expansion into space while allowing the Council to observe their development. That's when everything went wrong. The first sign was subtle, a slight fluctuation in the quantum field harmonics. Then another, and another. Each tiny distortion perfectly timed and positioned. Energy spike. Her sensor officer shouted. The humans, they're using our own quantum wake against us. Zyrax watched in horror as the humans revealed their trap. They had hidden thousands of small devices throughout the solar system, each one designed to resonate with the fleet's quantum field generators. As the containment field powered up, these devices created a cascading feedback loop that turned the entire field back upon itself. Shut down the generators, she ordered, but it was too late. The containment field collapsed inward, trapping the Council fleet in its own energy web. And that's when the human ships appeared. They had been there all along, hiding in artificial quantum shadows created by their resonator network. Multiple human vessels detected, the tactical officer reported, voice shaking. They're using modified versions of our own stealth technology, but they've improved it somehow. Zyrax watched as the human fleet executed a perfect encirclement maneuver. Their ships were crude by Council standards, but they moved with lethal precision. They had studied Council tactics, learned their weaknesses, and developed counters for every advantage the containment fleet possessed. They let us deploy the containment field, Zyrax realized. They wanted us to activate it. The humans had turned the Council's most advanced containment technology into a trap, but they didn't press their advantage. Instead, a communication came through on all frequencies. Council Fleet Command, this is Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your containment attempt has failed. You have 2 options, immediate withdrawal or demonstration of our complete countermeasures. Choose quickly. The message was clear. This was not a negotiation. It was a lesson. Later, in her report to the Council, Zyrax struggled to convey the magnitude of their miscalculation. The attempt to contain humanity has failed catastrophically. Not only did they anticipate our standard containment protocols, but they had also developed and implemented countermeasures before we even arrived. Analysis indicates they began preparing these defenses immediately after our first contact incident. Key findings. Humans had already developed countermeasures to our most advanced containment technology. They allowed us to deploy our full containment system solely to demonstrate their ability to defeat it. Their technological adaptation rate exceeds our worst-case projections by several orders of magnitude. They have already improved upon Council technology they've only encountered briefly. Most critically, the humans demonstrated strategic patience that we did not believe them capable of. They could have revealed their countermeasures early in our deployment. Instead, they waited until our containment field was fully committed, ensuring that we would understand the completeness of our failure. This was not just a military defeat, it was a carefully orchestrated demonstration. The humans wanted us to understand that any attempt to contain them would not only fail, but would provide them with opportunities to study and improve upon our technology. Recommendation: Immediate cessation of all containment attempts. The humans have proven that such efforts will only accelerate their technological development and military capabilities. Final analysis. We dramatically underestimated humanity's capacity for military innovation and strategic thinking. They don't just adapt to challenges, they anticipate them, prepare for them, and turn them to their advantage. Any future attempt to restrict their development will likely result in an even more dramatic demonstration of their capabilities. The galaxy must accept a difficult truth. Humanity cannot be contained. They have mastered the art of turning containment itself into a weapon of advancement. As Xyrax completed her report, she received word that human ships had been detected near several Council worlds. They weren't attacking or making threats. They were simply watching, learning, preparing. The age of containment was over. The era of human expansion had begun. Supreme Counselor Terra stood before the assembled Galactic Council, her crystalline form refracting the light of 1,000 worlds. 1 year had passed since the failed containment attempt, and everything had changed. Display current human expansion, she commanded. The galactic map materialized, showing the rapid spread of human influence. They hadn't conquered or invaded. They had done something far more profound. They had begun teaching. As you can see, Terra addressed the Council. Humanity has established what they call technical exchange programs with 17 different species. They are freely sharing their military innovations and tactical doctrines. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. This defied all historical precedent. Species guarded their military advantages jealously. But humans treated warfare like an art form to be shared and refined. Most concerning, she continued, is their approach to these exchanges. They aren't creating dependent allies. They're fostering independent innovation. Each species they work with develops its own unique military doctrine, adapted to their specific capabilities. The display shifted, showing training exercises where humans worked alongside various alien species. They weren't imposing their methods. They were teaching others how to develop their own. The humans call this cross-pollination of military thought. Terra explained. They believe that diverse approaches to warfare create stronger defenses than any single doctrine could achieve. A new report appeared, the latest analysis from the Council's Strategic Assessment Division. Humanity's impact on galactic military development. In 1 standard year, human military influence has reshaped our understanding of warfare in the following ways. Traditional military hierarchies are being replaced by adaptive command structures that encourage tactical innovation at all levels. Species are developing hybrid technologies that combine their natural capabilities with human-inspired innovations. The distinction between civilian and military technology development has blurred, with peaceful advances being rapidly adapted for defensive purposes. Combat training now emphasizes creative problem-solving and tactical improvisation, rather than strict adherence to established protocols. Most significantly, humanity has introduced the concept of competitive cooperation in military development. Species that once guarded their military secrets now engage in joint exercises designed to test and improve each other's capabilities. Terra paused, letting the implications sink in. The galaxy was transforming, and humanity was the catalyst. We face a choice, she addressed the Council. We can continue to view humanity's military prowess as a threat, or we can recognize it as an opportunity for galactic evolution. The chamber erupted in debate. Some counselors argued for isolation, others for embracement of the new paradigm. But deep down, they all knew the galaxy had already chosen. Her final report to the Council archives would become required reading for generations to come. The rise of human military philosophy, a galactic paradigm shift. Humanity has not conquered the galaxy. They have revolutionized it. Their unique approach to warfare, which treats it as both an art and a science to be studied, refined, and taught, has fundamentally altered how species interact. Key observations. Humans don't seek to dominate through military might. They seek to elevate through military innovation. Their willingness to share and teach military doctrine has created unprecedented cooperation between species. The human concept of continuous improvement in warfare has sparked a renaissance in military thinking across the galaxy. Species that adopt human military philosophy don't become more aggressive. They become more innovative and adaptable. Most remarkably, humanity has achieved something no species thought possible. They have turned warfare itself into a force for unity. By teaching others to develop their own military doctrine, rather than imposing their own, they have created a network of independent but cooperating military powers. The humans call this strength through diversity. They believe that the more different approaches to warfare exist, the stronger everyone becomes. This philosophy has transformed potential adversaries into eager students. Final assessment. We were wrong to fear humanity's military capabilities. What we should have feared was our own stagnation. Humanity hasn't just changed how the galaxy wages war. They have changed how we think about warfare itself. The age of isolated military development is over. The era of collaborative military evolution has begun. And humanity, the species we once sought to contain, has become its greatest teacher. Personal note. In all my centuries serving the Council, I never imagined I would see warfare become a force for unity. The humans have shown us that the true art of war isn't about destruction. It's about evolution, adaptation, and the endless pursuit of improvement. The galaxy feared human warfare because we didn't understand it. Now we fear the thought of what we would have become without their influence. As Terra concluded her report, news arrived of another breakthrough. A coalition of species, trained in human military innovation techniques, had developed a revolutionary defense system that combined the unique abilities of 12 different races. They hadn't done it to fight a war. They had done it to prove it could be done.